Hi, I'm Yvonne from MyElements, and I'm here today to show you how to make rings. Lots and lots of rings. This is my second rings video, and today I'm going to show you just a couple other steps to help you advance a little bit when you're making those. There's only two things that you really need when you're making these rings is this great little finding that looks like a little tiny barbell, like for mice or lizards or something. That would be a good video in itself. And this is what I call the rings, and this is threaded on both ends. You can just take the balls off. Then my flex strip, and I've already chosen the beads that I want to use on this ring. Everyone, all of us that are beady people, have bead hoards like crazy. The nice thing about these rings is you can make like things with all these wonderful beads that you have and actually use them, you know, and see them and enjoy them. And the ones that you don't need so much, I mean, I've made hundreds of these already, and so I have them in shops and galleries and things and let other people enjoy them as well. My flex strip. I just got this in recently, and I love this stuff. Anyone that knows me knows that anything different, I like different. I don't like whatever, you know, I don't want to do what everyone else does. So here's another different project from me. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this flex strip, and we're going to use a flush cutter. And I use a flush cutter that's jaw is big enough to cut this in one swipe so that you have a nice clean edge on your ring. Okay, and that's still crooked a little bit, so I'm going to straighten that out. So we're going to cut that, then we're going to come in and we're going to take, I use a 1.5 metal punch for mine, and I usually just eyeball that. I get down about 1/8 of an inch or so and center and make a punch. I take E6000 on the end of each of my balls when I'm making these rings, so it's extra stabilization. I just like to make sure that everything is as secure as I could possibly make it. This is the threading's permanent, but it's like it doesn't have a special lock or anything, so I just feel better just putting a little bit of E6000. So I'm just going to screw a little bit of that in. And it takes like 24 hours for that to dry, so believe me, you'll have your ring done in a lot less time than that. So it gives you plenty of working room. So you're going to pop your rings finding in the flex strip. Now, this video I want to show you when you have things that have really big holes. When you put them on your finding, they move around all over the place. This is where the flexible tubing comes in. Really nice. And not just for the rings, but even when you're making like earrings or things like that, it's really nice because it really makes a nice fit. So this is the 3mm tubing. And I don't know, I'm not a lamp worker, but I think that that's probably a 3/32 hole. It's a pretty big hole. So I'm going to use these two beads. So what I want to do is I'm going to put this tubing on here, and it's just like, you know, I don't measure, I don't sit with, you know, I'm one of those that I'm very spontaneous when I'm working, so I just sort of look at that and think, okay, there's the end of my threading, I need about 1/8 of an inch or more in there. And the nice thing is, no rules. It's like, it's not permanent till you make it permanent, so you can always come back and redo it until you get it exactly the way you want it. So I cut that with my cutter. I'm going to feed that onto my finding. Okay, so I know I have plenty of room there to put my flex strip and then to screw my ball onto the end. So I'm going to feed on my first big hole bead. Then I have my lovely O-rings here in all different colors, and I already pulled out the colors that coordinate. Don't they look really good together? And these make really nice spacers, and also nice so that you're like, when you have like glass and ceramic and things like that, it keeps the friction, you know, from you know, them rubbing against each other. Plus it makes just a really nice, extra nice little look to it. So then I'm going to do that, feed that other ball, and then look how nice and tight that is compared to what it was earlier, like that, you know, without the tubing on there. Now you can also, before I finish it, I'm going to show you, you can also use that as a decorative element too, where the tubing even shows. So now I'm going to come in, this is going to be my ring, because as most of us that are bead lovers, there are certain beads that like you just can't get rid of. You have to keep them for yourself, and so this one's one of my keepers. So I'm going to measure, I just measure right on my finger. You can use a mandrel if you want to. Like I said, let me see, I can show you. And then I just sort of push that a little bit, put an indent. Then I go back in here, and I hope that I can see my indent. And then I'm just going to punch a hole. And each one of these is an individual basis because it depends on how thick the bead is as to how much of an opening you have. So you have to be cognizant of that when you're making your ring. So then you put your, and then I'm going to come in here with my E6000, put another little dab of that in the end of this ball. If I can find the end. There we go. Get that started. And then I use my fingers as much as I can, but after a while it just wants to keep spinning around. So then I use my flat nose pliers to hold on to the balls, and then I tighten them up with those. So I'll just keep tightening that until I get that. Like I said, they don't lock or anything. You can tell when you've threaded in long enough. So now all I have to do is trim my tail. So I'm going to go over here, and this one I'm going to look at on both sides, and it's like, okay, if you can see, this bead is bigger than this bead. So you have an uneven here. But me, I'm just going to go down here, and it's like try to make that fairly even with the ring. And now if I wanted to, I could say, oh, well, I don't like this sticking up. So I would come over here and trim that down, so it's more of a flush. And I can tell, look at this, that I made, I made this a lot smaller, so I'll be having to redo this one if I want to keep it for myself, or else it's going to be a nice pinky ring. So voila, there you go. And like I said, you're not done until you've decided that you're done. But isn't that beautiful? Isn't that cool? All right, so that's that. So I've showed you how to fill it with the tubing. Now here's another fun thing that I'm just gonna, real fast show you that you can do to make this flex strip even more interesting. And that is holes. So I'm gonna lay some of these rings here so that you can see, like, how cool is that? Like all those holes. And actually you should be able to see the rings too. But it just adds a whole other design element. You got baubles here, you got holes there. It just makes them even more arty looking. So I'm going to sit these here for you, eye candy. Oh, and a nice thing while I'm at it here, plug for my Italian resin that I just got in. This is Italian resin. I love this stuff. It's different on each side. So it's neat, so you have like 2 rings on one. I love that. I think that's so cool. Here's another one. Look at that. Isn't that neat? So the only tool you need is this leather punch. If you had, like, I don't know, like different like paper punches, it's a little harder using a paper punch. You've got to really squeeze because this stuff is like a 1/16 of an inch thick. But you can do it. It's just when I'm making 100 of them at a sitting, you know, it's like that kills your hands. So you know, you got to take that into consideration as well. But this leather punch has 6 different hole sizes in it, so it's really great. You just want to leave room at the top, of course, when you're making holes in this. First, put your hole in for your ring, and then because I've done this so much, I sort of know where to stop, you know. And so I'm just going to go in here and just real random. I squeeze down, and you got to squeeze pretty hard because, like I said, you're going through like a 1/16 of an inch. And I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but I just want to give you an idea. And then you pop those out, and of course I'm one of those people. It's like, oh, save those. I may be able to use those for something someday. Aren't we all like that? We artists. It's like, oh, we got to save everything. My whole house is full of save everything. So now I'm going to make a bigger hole. And just make sure that you're not getting too close to any of the other ones, because this stuff is really nice and strong. And so on. So there you go. And you can just keep, doing that as you want to. Now the neat thing about this, and I didn't even think about this when I was doing it. I just did it as a design element. But a friend of mine said, "Oh, Yvonne, that's really great because of like perspiring, like some people perspire more and things like that." So she's like, "Oh, that's great, like for, and I was like, "Oh yeah, see? I didn't even realize that I was doing something besides just fun." So anyhow, here's a handful of beauty. These things are so much fun. I don't even wear my wedding ring because I just don't like wearing rings when I'm working, and these I can wear all day and they don't bother me. I love them. They're just an awful lot of fun. So there you go. The second RINGz how-to, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come back and see me again. And thanks for coming by. Take care.